Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another day here at Reach and Reverie. My name is Alex, and I'm so glad that you're here. What are we doing? She's on rabbit watch. Any rabbits, Evie? Not yet? Look at her. She just loves the chickens. Are you saying good morning to the chickens? How are they doing? Yeah, we're not gonna let them out today. We're gonna plant some plants. They're gonna eat them. Josh and I are building a living fence around our backyard, or I guess, I don't know if it's the backyard or the front yard because it's gonna be on the side. I'm gonna say our backyard. So Josh and I, we are living in an RV, and we also have a shop that we're building, and this is where we're living until we can build our house. And so for the time being, we're going to make the most of this space. Our house is going to end up going farther back on the property. We touched on that a little bit in the last video if you missed it, but it's probably going to be a couple years away. And so we are going to thoroughly enjoy the space that we're in until we can get to the space that we want to be. And part of that is having a nice yard that we can hang out in. And so that brings us to finishing this yard. It is a bit of a construction zone, so of course we do apologize for the mess here. But what we're doing is our backyard is going to go from essentially this side of the RV, and it's going to go up to this circle drive and back to the shop. And this is going to be like our backyard. If you're new here, Josh and I have 5 acres, and we are building the homestead of our dreams, one video at a time. So don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date along our journey. But Cliff Notes version, behind me, behind the chickens, is the front acre of the property where we are building a fruit orchard. Over here on the other side of the chickens, we have a garden, which is in a fenced in area of about 40 by 115 feet. We have our home base, RV and shop, where we're using the RV as a bedroom and kitchen. We're using the shop as our living room and bathroom. And in the future, of course, the back few acres, we're going to have our house, and then we're going to have a goat pasture and a work zone for Josh in the back corner where he can do all of his fun projects, as he is a Josh of all trades. So while we're living here, our backyard has been very exposed. We get most of our weather from the southwest. Occasionally we do get weather from the northeast, like in the wintertime we get those winter storms coming this way, but our monsoons come from the southwest. And so we've noticed, Josh and I, that if we try to come and sit outside, everything is blowing around. We can't even hardly hear each other over a conversation sitting across a table from one another because the wind is excruciating. I've actually postponed this project to today from yesterday because yesterday we had sustained winds of about 35 miles an hour, and it was like trying to plant plants, getting grit in your teeth, dust in your eyes, blowing all around, worried about the greenhouse blowing away. And so we really have just come to this thought that we need somewhere sheltered from the wind where we can enjoy our property. We do have several sitting areas around the property where we can sit out and enjoy the mountain views, sit back and enjoy the garden, have some peace and quiet with this desert air. But we really needed an area where we can sit uninterrupted by the wind. That brings me to this space behind me, which is our yard. And here Josh has been working really hard trying to grow grass. You're seeing the start of the green sheen on our lawn, where we have been fighting ants and rabbits to grow this lawn. We have a lot of tumbleweeds coming up we need to weed through. Largely the rabbits have been mowing down the new grass that's been growing up, and the ants have been stealing our seeds, but we're gonna have trellising going all the way along this row and coming back to here, and eventually we'll have a little gate probably and then fence it in the rest of the way. So what we have here is we have a trellis that we have going up where we just put some T-posts and a couple of stock panels. And these stock panels, they're 50 inches tall, so we have it raised up off the ground a couple feet. So it ends up making our trellis 6.5 feet tall. The area that it's off the ground, I am going to run string so that our plants can climb up the string to get to the trellis, and then they'll have a higher reach so that we can have a taller living fence. And one thing that Josh and I are going to do this weekend is get the plants that have come in planted along this trellis, and we're also going to put up the trellises the rest of the way. What we're going to be planting today is I do have one star jasmine that's going to go at the base of this first trellis, as well as 3 peaches and cream honeysuckles. And our peaches and cream honeysuckles are starting off a lot smaller. We're going to end up having 4 plants in this area. So where we have this darker dirt, we have dug little trenches and put in potting soil, and we've actually thrown down seeds of morning glories. And in the areas between the dark spots is where we're going to plant our perennials. So a perennial is something that's going to live and it's going to come back every year. In these cases, these are going to be evergreen, so we're going to have the living fence that is going to be a privacy screen and a wind block, even in the winter months. The morning glories are annuals, which means they are going to sprout, grow, and die back in a single season. And so my thought process is that the morning glories will grow up this year and fill this up really beautifully while the perennials are establishing. And then once the morning glories die back, we can pull them off and let the perennials continue to fill in the space. So the goal is that we can have some quick progress filling up this privacy and wind screen this year, and then over the next couple of years the perennials will fill the space and just look beautiful. We are planting things that are hopefully going to be evergreen, as well as things that are going to flower and have a nice scent, so that it's a place that we want to be, that's beautiful, smells nice, and is just a great multi-purpose fence that is also going to block the wind. Josh also surprised me. So I had ordered the plants on this trellis thinking we'd do, you know, 1 trellis at a time, kind of fill this up over the next couple of years. But the thing is, we're going to be building our house here in the next couple of years. And so we thought, and Josh and I, that the sooner we can get this going and establishing, the better, so that we can really have time to enjoy it. Of course, when we do decide to build our house farther back on the property, this is still going to be a space that we can enjoy and utilize. It's not going to go away. So if we can have a nice established area to still come and hang out, maybe this can be a place where guests stay potentially, or who knows? We don't really know yet, but this could be a space that still is beautiful for many years to come. So along the next fences, Josh did surprise me by going ahead and ordering the rest of the plants to fill up the space. So that was a delight and a huge surprise. We're going to have some coral honeysuckles, as well as a blue climbing wisteria that we're also going to plant along these fences, so that we can have a really nice, complete, done, finished privacy and wind screen. And we do have the panels all laid out, so we just need to come back in with our T-post driver and pound the T-post in so that we can lift up the rest of this screen of stock panels. We did go ahead and this past week berm around this mesquite. We do want to come back and prune it off to kind of open up the canopy, clear out the suckers, and then along this berm we do plan on planting a lot of flowers. You can see I have a couple of flower pots. We're going to plant flowers and herbs that can sit under this tree in the shade of it, and then having our wisteria growing here we think will be really good. Now, word of caution, and we've been told this word of caution quite a bit, is wisteria is a vigorous, aggressive grower. It has really strong roots, and the vines can grow rather woody when it gets established. So we are being really careful to plant the wisteria in areas where we're not planning on ever having structures, like along this road right here. It's going to be well away from any plumbing that we have. And then we do think we may have an extra we might plant on a trellis in front of the chicken coop so that it can grow up and provide them a little bit more side shade of the chicken run. Wisteria can damage plumbing, and it can do damage to foundations and structures. So we actually see it being an aggressive grower as a good thing. Planted out here away from structures, we think that it'll grow really well out here in the desert, where sometimes getting established can be survival of the fittest. The sun's only getting higher and it's only getting hotter. Today the high is 97 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with getting my jasmine and honeysuckles pulled out over here so we can get them going in the ground. You hear that? That is a quail. He's on top of our dirt pile. We have a lot of wild quail out here. His little companion. I know that the one on top is a male. I can't really tell from here if the one on the bottom is also a male or if it's its partner. I don't know if it's just a companion, but they are cute. I gathered up the dirt. This is a 50-50 native ground and compost mixture. I also have the little tiny honeysuckles here, these 3. So it is going to take the honeysuckles a while to grow up and establish on this trellis. And then I also have a star jasmine over here, which is getting a little bit of a head start on the honeysuckles. I have heard that honeysuckle can compete a little bit with jasmine, that they do really well together, but that the honeysuckle's typically just a little bit more vigorous. So we got a more established jasmine as a head start. And the jasmine, it's already got some beautiful flowers. We're gonna get these planted today. And these honeysuckles, they don't look like much, but they do have a lot of new growth, those little green spots on them. So I'm sure they are going to catch up and do really good once they get going. It looks kind of dead, but it is the beginning of the season for them. They did have to travel a long way. We did order these from Fast Growing Trees. We're not sponsored by them. We've ordered our fruit trees from Stark Bros. We've had a couple things from Fast Growing Trees in the past that have done really well. We have some olive trees. So we thought we'd go ahead and give them a shot. Josh, I'll have to ask him where he got the wisteria and the coral honeysuckle from, and we'll let you guys know as well and how those turn out. But we'll see. The jasmine looks beautiful, super healthy, already really big, and the honeysuckle, it doesn't look as impressive, but I do think that with the new growth that they have here, that the plants are still have a lot of life left in them, and they're going to start growing here really quick. So with this, little honeysuckle. He was a little bit root bound, so what I did was I broke up the base of his roots. I tried to detangle it without actually ripping too much at the roots so that we can keep as much root intact as possible, but you wanted to really have an open base so that the plant can really stretch out and grow. If you leave it completely knotted up as it is when it comes out of the pot, it can choke out your plant and stunt its growth in the future. So for the long-term health of the plant, we did a little bit of trauma at the base, and we'll get him in here so he can grow happy and healthy. And there you have it. I have all 4 of these little first initial plants planted. I did come back with some of this soft string stuff I just got at our local garden center. It's soft enough that I can pull it apart. It's kind of stretchy, but it's also sturdy enough that it usually lasts me about 2 seasons. And then I figured by then the honeysuckle will already have reached this trellis and I can cut and pull out that string anyway. But what I did was I just did 2 strands of it so that as the honeysuckle grows up, it can have something vertical to grab and then reach the trellis. So I'll just be coming out here periodically and trying to train it to grab on as it goes. And honeysuckle is a type of vine that when it touches something, it'll start coiling around it and then harden. And so that is something that it should grab once it gets going. And this jasmine, it came in one little tower, and I just very gently uncoiled each of the pieces, and I am trying to train it on this trellis. So what I've done is I've just kind of gently weaved it through the first layers of the trellis and then used that soft tie to support it so that it doesn't blow off with the wind. And I did so very loosely so it doesn't cut the circulation of the plant. The plant can still move, but the goal is if we get 35-mile-an-hour winds, it'll still be here on the trellis after the winds have died back. So I did that in a couple of places, and now I'm going to water it in. I'm going to mulch and berm around this row, and we'll be ready for this living fence to start growing. This is purslane. I don't even know how it ended up in this bed, but it flowers in the early morning when the sun hits it. And so I just thought I'd come and show you guys because most of the day the flowers are nowhere to be seen, and it looks really pretty when the flowers do open up. I do think I'm going to eventually incorporate what's in these beds into the cottage garden. This is stuff that I brought over from my last house. I have some asparagus, which is not doing very good because we have a rabbit that lives nearby that I think is eating our asparagus, leaving the purslane alone. I also have this yarrow, which decided to flower this week, and it smells just like honey. Very good medicinal herb. And then I also have a hyssop plant as well. So I'll probably be moving these out into the cottage garden soon to live there instead of in these pots. And up by the house, our bougainvillea is getting used to its new home. It was in a hanging planter, and we planted it out into this 2 by 4 foot raised bed. And our wildflower pot, which is in a 3 by 4 foot raised bed, is doing pretty good. I can see a little ladybug right there. And in this, I just sprinkled a bunch of random wildflower seeds. And what's really thriving right now is the baby's breath. We have bachelor buttons, cosmos, and I know we also have some flax seed, but the flax seed is only blooming some days, so today was not the day to see flax. The other project that we were working on this weekend and have been is we are reinforcing our RV shade structure. Josh got up on this scaffolding yesterday and he used his torch to blow holes in this square tube framing stuff, and he put these eyelet bits on up here, and then he also replumbed our water catchment tank into a little bit of a more efficient system. It was coming out way over here and having a first flush right here, but now we have the first flush coming straight down, and we put what's called a leaf eater, which is essentially a cup that has an angled screen in it to knock out any debris before it gets into the tank. So that'll help keep things like big beetles and bugs falling off and not getting into our water tank. But the reason why we had the scaffolding out and to blow holes and put eyelets up into this tubing was we are going to be taking this cabling, and he's getting the turnbuckle on now, and we are going to go into all four corners into these eyelets. And we sunk in mobile home tie downs, which is a really long metal rod. It has wings at the bottom and an eyelet at the top to anchor in mobile homes. And we are going to use that to help reinforce and anchor in our RV structure just for extra stability. We've had an unseasonably windy spring and winter. Huh? Josh says it's my fault. I'm a little bit of a worrywart. But we've had an unseasonably, very unusual windy season that has just not let up. It's been relentless. And there's been some nights, including last night, where I was a little nervous. This is that eyelet sticking out of the ground from the mobile home tie that we're gonna tie down into. And you can see here, that's essentially what we're doing up at the top is we have these. Just let that plane fly by. The reverse is going to happen up top where we have these eyelet bolts. We're going to have this cable turnbuckle to really tighten it down, and then cable going up from corner down. So when we first built this place, we did have the cable here and a cable going down, and now we're going to have X's to really stabilize it and put my peace at mind so I can have a good night's sleep at night when it's super windy and I'm afraid we're gonna blow away. Yep, so he's getting that ready. He's gonna get that all tightened up, and then I'm gonna be happy. I'm already happy, but so right now he's tightening on the cable, so that's gonna hold this turnbuckle, so we'll get it nice and taut and make me feel a little less nervous about the winds. Well, my friends, that's all I have for you today. Josh and I are, after we get this all cabled up and tightened down, we will start putting in the rest of the trellises up front. Our next shipment of plants should be in this week. We'll get the rest of the living fins put up, and then we'll start growing things to give us a little bit more wind protection for sitting outside, and we'll have a little bit more wind protection for our RV cover as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget, like this video and hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date for what's coming next here on Reach and Reverie. Thanks for watching.